Night. From the shadows of the senses comes this, the fantasy of fear. Nightmare. Starring as your exciting guide to terror, Peter Lorre.
You know, I wonder what makes some people do the things they do. Like the charming young creature you see under the circus tent, balancing herself so gracefully on a tiny wire, high over the heads of the gaping spectators. Why does she want to do such a dangerous thing day after day? Well, no one knows. And yet people do dangerous things all the time without much thought about the risk of losing life. And then there are girls like this Judy who never lived dangerously. Her greatest earthly threat was a simple run in her hose. A fearful thing to happen, especially to a young efficient secretary like Judy. But life has a way of tripping us up. It tripped Judy, and she fell right into a living nightmare. Now, about this girl, Judy Branson. Oh, such a very nice, pretty young thing. She has an excellent position in an office, a secretary to a real tycoon. Oh, and she's so efficient and so level-headed. And nothing to worry her pretty little head, except one day she tripped and she fell. It was such a small thing. Nothing to be afraid about. Yet almost overnight, Judy. But you find out for yourself. I don't want you to fall for anything I might say.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
I can't look
Sure you can.
for your entertainment, we present the exciting young lady of the high wire, Miss Georgia Lorre, who will attempt at a height of 100 feet in the air without a net, a double somersault and twist. Miss Georgia Lorre!
Oh, cut it, honey. This trick isn't so dangerous as they make out. These people know what they're doing, been practicing for years. Anything they do without a net, they do well because it's easy and they're not taking chances.
How do you know so much?
I know, that's all. Watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, remain your seats, please. The show will go on. The show will go on. Remain in your seats, please. It's loading and just like the left and forward.
Feel better?
Yeah, I'm all right now, Joe.
Good.
Felt better when I found out she wasn't hurt too badly.
Yeah, well, you know those people know what they're doing. Even when they fall right. Good thing the fall was broken by that tackle, though.
Must be an exciting life.
What, circus?
You know, when I was a little girl, I always thought someday I'd like to be a circus acrobat.
You?
Well, what's so funny, husband dear?
Judy, stop it. You a circus acrobat on a high wire?
Well, why not? If I had the practice, the ambition, and the drive.
Yeah, all that's needed. But, baby, there's only one thing that you'd lack.
Oh? What's that?
The talent, honey. The talent.
Talent? Joe, how dare you?
I don't mean it that way, honey, but look, kid, like I said before, those people have perfect balance. That's their talent. If they haven't got it, they don't last. Perfect balance, honey, that's the answer.
And I suppose you think I'm clumsy.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. But I wouldn't say you had perfect balance, Beauty.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't you say it?
Now, don't get insulted.
I'm not insulted. I just want to know why, that's all. What makes you think you know so much?
Well, look at it. Look at our game of tennis, for instance. Every time we play, you take a spill or two.
That has nothing to do with circus work.
But it's the same thing, honey. Don't you see that? It's all a matter of balance. And if you fall on the tennis court, it means your coordination is off.
That's not why I fall on the court.
Oh? Well, and why do you?
Because you get me nervous, that's why. Because you're always telling me how you'd like some competition, that I don't give you a good game.
Now, look, I don't make you fall.
You do, too.
Oh, baloney. You're the one that falls, not me.
You're telling me I'm clumsy again.
Oh, Judy, I didn't say that. I only said you don't have perfect balance, and that the circus people have it, or else they
Now, don't tell me what you were saying. I can hear you. Oh!
Easy, baby. There.
I didn't even see the curb.
Sure you saw it. And you see what I mean about balance?
Well, what are you laughing at? I could have broken my leg. I suppose that's funny.
No, baby, that wouldn't be funny. What are you so sensitive about? You're so touchy, just...
I'm sorry.
No, kid. You're well off working where you are as a stenographer in a nice, safe office.
Judy. Hi, Laura. You ready for lunch? About a minute. I have to finish this paragraph. Sure, I'll wait. Where do you want to go?
Well, I got about 70 cents day before payday blues. How about Hamburger Paradise?
Fine.
We'll have to walk down today, you know.
Hmm?
I said we'll have to walk down today. Aren't you just thrilled?
Walk down? What do you mean?
Elevator's out of service, repairing them or something.
Well, for heaven's sake, you mean we have to walk down 20 flights of stairs?
Oh, lovely, huh? What's the matter?
Nothing.
You look funny.
I'm all right. Well, you ready?
Sure, I guess I can't do anything else with this face. I was born with it. I suppose it'll have to do. Come on.
Just let me get my... Oh,
careful. Oh, Judy. Are you hurt?
No, I'm all right.
Are you sure? That was quite a fall.
I'm all right, Laura.
What in heaven's name made you do that?
I don't know. Maybe that pencil on the floor, I slipped on it, I guess.
Well, didn't you see it?
Yes?
Well, then why did... Oh, never mind. As long as you're not hurt. Come on, I'm hungry. Well, here we are. Well, come on, let's descend into the maelstrom. There's nothing we can do about it. Huh. Stairwell's dark, too. Guess they got the electric off while they fixed the elevator.
Laura, wait.
Huh?
Maybe we should... Well, have something sent up.
Are you kidding? I told you I only got 70 cents. Well, with a tip and all, it wouldn't be enough, and I'm real hungry today. Come on.
I could lend you some money.
Oh, come on. The fresh air will do us good.
Laura.
Judy, what's the matter with you?
Nothing, I'm all right. Let's go down.
Now, there's 6 steps to the flight. Now, can you feel your way? It's 6 steps down, you turn, and another 6 down, and you turn, and another 6 between each floor.
Laura, what floor are we on? Are we almost down?
Oh, no, we're only at 15 now, I think.
I can't see a thing.
There's a man ahead of us with a flashlight. Come on, let's catch up.
Wait, don't go so fast.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Judy, what are you so slow? Just hold on to the rail and feel your way. Now, come on, I'm hungry.
Laura, wait for me. Please, wait.
Laura, wait for me. Don't leave me here, Laura, please. Help me, Laura, please.
You see, now you can understand why Judy feels the way she does. Falling can be dangerous. Of course, one can't tumble down 20 flights of stairs. No, that's impossible. We might wish Judy many happy landings, huh? Still, Judy's afraid. One has to take so many steps every day. Steps that have trapped her in a living nightmare. Now, let's see, where were we? Oh, yes. Trying to keep from falling, huh? Oh, poor little Judy. Well, there must be some answer for her. See, I know a place where one doesn't have to worry about falling. She don't mind the damp feeling of cold marble. Oh, but each day fate tries to trip us with small things. Oh, a pencil on the floor, or the runner on a stair, or just a tiny greasy spot. I wonder how Judy can escape. Or for that matter, how many of us can.
We're frightened.
Well, it's about time you stopped being frightened. It's about time you grew up, Judy. Stop acting like a scared kid. Stop falling all over the place, you hear?
Joe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, how about me? What about me and the laughing stock you're making of me falling on the dance floor, screaming in public, crying in front of all those people, letting yourself be frightened by a flight of stairs?
Joe, I couldn't help it. Believe me, I couldn't help it.
And then because of a little flight of stairs, because you get frightened on top of everything, you have to go and quit the job.
I get panicky, Joe.
Sure, you sure did. Quitting a good-paying job because you're afraid of a flight of stairs. It's no fun for me, you know. Gets to be my problem, too, always worrying about when and how you're going to embarrass me. Well, after all, I'm...
Embarrass you? Well, Well, if you don't like this marriage, if you don't like me, if you want out anytime, you can. You can.
Oh, baby, don't say that.
You're making me a nervous wreck.
What about me? I'm the nervous wreck, and you're the cause of it. And maybe you're right, Judy. Maybe if all of this ridiculous nonsense about falling down doesn't stop soon, I will want out. Maybe I will.
Oh, Joe. Joe, only way.
Judy, for Pete's sake, that's no
I
answer.
know it'll work, Joe. I know it. Let's move, please.
But we're only on the 4th floor here.
It's too high, Joe. It's too high.
Judy.
Please, Joe, please.
All right. I'll see if I can break the lease. We'll move to the ground floor
Oh,
apartment.
honey, thanks.
But this is it, you hear? This is the last time, the last coddling routine, you hear?
Yes, Joe.
And I mean it. You know what I mean, Judy?
Don't. Please don't.
We've been living here for 3 months, 3 whole months on the ground floor, and for a while it was fine.
Fine.
But for a month and a half now, you haven't moved out of that chair. You haven't been outside the house more than once a week for shopping. Why, Judy? Why?
Joe, please.
Why, Judy? Tell me why.
The steps. I'm afraid of the steps.
Steps. Judy, for heaven's sakes, there's only 3 steps out to the street. 3 stupid steps.
I'm afraid I'll fall, Joe. I'm afraid I'll fall.
Merry Christmas, sweetheart.
Oh, darling, I can't wait to unwrap it.
Well, it's not so much, but you take a look at
Oh,
it.
darling, whatever it is, I'll love it because it's from you.
Say, I thought you were going to finish dressing the tree while I was at work.
I did, Joe.
But only the bottom part.
Joe.
I left the ladder for you. Why didn't... Oh, Judy.
Hello?
Well, what happened?
I'm sorry, Joe.
I've been waiting in this dive with Paul and Laura since 6:15. What's keeping you?
I'm not coming, Joe.
Not coming? Why not?
Joe, come home, please. I'm frightened.
What?
There's a pencil on the floor.
Huh?
Joe, I'm afraid I'll fall. Help me, Joe. Please. More tea, love?
No, thanks. I gotta watch this figure. Paul says I'm getting as wide as I am high. Man, you never can please them. Of course, I always thought your Joe was different, but I guess I was wrong. When did he leave?
2 days ago. Took a hotel room.
Well, if you ask me, it's because you quit your job. These men are all alike. They marry a girl to support her, and then they expect her to bring money into the house. Just like Paul. I tell you, Judy, they're all alike. There's not one that's any different.
No, it's my fault, Laura. It's my fault. It's not Joe. It's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy. I'm sorry.
I'll be all right.
Sure. Everything will turn out okay. You just wait and see. You know, I think you ought to start working again. It'd do you good. Give you a feeling of independence. Then you wouldn't feel you need Joe as much as you do. And he'd come back. The minute he saw you going your own way, he'd come running back.
You think so, Laura?
Oh, I know so. Why don't you drop up to the office this week? I got a feeling old Carter would give you your job back. You know, we miss you around there, Judy.
Certainly glad you came back, Judy.
Thanks, Mr. Carter. I'm sorry about quitting with such short notice. I hope
forget it, Judy. I don't hold any grudges. I understand you had a problem of some kind about those stairs. By the way, you're over it now, aren't you?
Oh, yes, Mr. Carter. I'm over it.
Good. Now, you can have your old job back. Same one at the same salary. Is that okay?
Oh, yes. That's wonderful, Mr.
I'll
Carter.
just have the application drawn up again. Laura.
Yes, Mr. Carter. Hi, Judy. It's good to see you back.
Hello, Laura.
Laura, will you type out an application for Judy, and I want an...
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't know.
Fire! That's a fire alarm!
The building is on fire. Look, there's smoke coming in from the hall.
Oh, well, that's...
The fire stairs are blocked! Get out of here! How do we get out?
I don't know. I don't know.
Judy, you got to.
I can't, Laura.
Judy, for heaven's sake, it's the only way to safety.
No, I couldn't. I'd fall. I know I'd fall.
Judy, look at me. Just look at me.
Laura.
Now listen, there's only one way out. Through the window and over that ledge to the other side. Now, do you hear? You have to walk over that ledge. so narrow. The ledge is so narrow. I fall, Laura.
You want to be burned to death, is that it? Judy, you can't stay here. You have to walk out that ledge.
No.
Well, I'm going. I'm getting out. Judy, come on.
No, I won't.
Judy, do you know what you're doing? Yes, you have fallen into fear. You cannot win like this. All life has its high and low places. You're not going to give up so easily, are you? Come on, go on. Take a step and then another one and then another. Poor girlie Judy. She'll never stop falling until she realizes that she's trapped in a living nightmare. Tell me, do you like to climb to high places, a mountaintop, or perhaps you enjoy going to the uppermost story of some great skyscraper, and once there, stretched out below you is the great city in all its magnificence. You lean far out to get a better view, and suddenly, only for a split second, your balance seems gone, but only for a second, and then you catch yourself. After all, you were holding on to a strong iron railing, huh? You weren't afraid. Now, I just wonder about Judy. She has a problem, one that has been left hanging in midair. Shall we see?
Judy, listen to us.
I did it. Everybody did it. You can do it, Judy.
Yes, you can, Judy. Walk across. You've got to save yourself, Judy.
You can do it, Judy. I know you can do it. Three steps at a time, then rest. Now another 3. 1, 2, 3. Now don't look down, Judy. Don't look down and behind you. Don't look so far down at those little people, the little cars and fire engines. Don't look down, Judy, or you'll fall. Now just keep going. 1, 2, 3. Careful now. Careful. Don't fall, Judy. No, don't fall. Don't fall. That's it, Judy. Closer.
You got it now, girls. Just a few more steps. Come on. Easy now. Easy.
I'm all right. I'm coming. Good girl, Judy. That's it. Now you're here. Oh, Laura. Come on, Judy. Wait. What? I forgot my purse. Yeah, but you forgot your purse where? In the office.
But you can't go back across that ledge. You can't go back to get it.
Why not? Judy, you're out of your mind. No. What's the problem? But where did you easy, Laura? It's so simple to walk across. You wait here. I'll be right back.
Let me through, please. Let me through. Will you please out of the way? Oh, Judy.
Darling.
Oh, sweetheart.
Oh, Joe.
You're not hurt?
No.
But you must be frightened.
Frightened? Of what?
That ledge. They told me you had to walk across that ledge up there.
Twice, as a matter of fact.
Twice?
Yeah. Why? What's so surprising, darling? It was easy, really. It was easy, darling.
Judy, what's come over you?
Come over me? I don't know exactly, but I feel different somehow. I feel different.
later. Thank you. Oh, I'm so tired. Joe, what's the matter?
Judy, it's got to stop. It's just got to stop, that's all.
What are you talking about, darling?
You know what I'm talking about? There's this ridiculous career of yours, this actor, this circus. Judy, I'm a nervous wreck.
But, darling, the new contract is ready for signing, and they're upping my salary 200%. We can't sneeze at that, Joe.
Judy, don't you understand? It's not the money. I don't give a hang about the money. Every time I see her climb that ladder, everything turns inside of me, and I tremble. I got to close my eyes.
But, darling, you can't ask me to give up a career that I've spent so much time practicing and perfecting, and I have perfect balance, so why worry?
Judy, this whole thing is ridiculous. Why aren't you afraid? Why don't you get some sense in your head?
You silly. Come here. Just routine, that's all. Just simple routine. Now stop worrying that little head of yours. There's nothing to be afraid of.
And so we leave little Judy in the air. She lost her fears away up there. In her mind, fear makes its lair, causing grief and so much care. Judy knows that fear's absurd, something really for the bird. So she put all fear into full flight. She's the girl on that tightrope every night. Oh, I do hope you'll sleep tonight. I know I will. Dreaming about a pretty young thing, all spangles and glitter, slowly making her way across a tiny silver wire, hundreds of feet in the air, and never thinking of falling. Yes. Say, by the way, what makes you afraid?
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to persons who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a remarkable and somewhat ghastly piece of fiction written by the famous Robert Louis Stevenson. Fantastic but utterly impossible, you say. Fantastic, yes. Ghastly, yes. But impossible? No. For a Jekyll and Hyde complex was the answer to the crimes which horrified and terrified London in the late 80s. The famous Jack the Ripper murders. The scene is London. The time, evening. A thick rolling fog shrouds the Thames embankment, and the lights lining Blackfriars Bridge have a ghostly tinge. High in the fog, Big Ben booms the hour, and over at Scotland Yard, Detective Lester, hearing the familiar chime of the old bell, looks at his watch, decides that it is time to be off, and is closing his desk when the door opens and in walk a man and a woman.
Yes? What can I do for you?
My name's Weiss, James Weiss, and yes, this is my wife.
I'm delighted to meet you. Won't you sit down?
Thank you, sir, but you see...
I made James come and see you.
Yes?
James had a dream.
Yes, one does have dreams occasionally. But are you quite certain you came to the right place? This is Scotland Yard.
Oh, yes, this is the right place. Tell them about your dream, James.
Last night it was, sir. I wakened and told my wife. I saw a murder committed.
You what?
In my dream, I mean.
Oh, I see. Well, I admit that's rather a horrible dream, but...
But it was too real. In Spitzfield it was. I could see the woman walking along, and I could see the man following her. I tried to warn her. I tried as hard as I could. It was ghastly to watch her just walking along like everything was all right, and him creeping up behind her, and me trying to cry out and couldn't. And then he killed her. She didn't have a chance, not even a chance to scream.
Wait, you'll have me turning out the yard. You're so realistic. You'll have me believing that it happened instead of being just a dream.
But that's just it. When James dreams things like that, they have happened.
But this time James must be wrong. Because, you see, we haven't found any murdered women in London, let alone Spitzfield.
I told you they wouldn't listen, Margaret. Let's get going.
I don't wish to appear unappreciative, but you realize, don't you, that I can't do anything? After all, what would my superiors say if I arrested someone because of a dream?
Yes, I understand. Sorry to have taken up your time.
Good night, madam.
Good night.
Next morning, Detective Inspector Lester walks into his office at Scotland Yard. He hangs up his hat and coat, seats himself at his desk, lifts up the morning report, and starts to read. Suddenly he stops. His eyes start from his head. He reads again, then turns stuttering to his secretary.
What is this, a joke?
A joke, sir? What,
Report of a woman found murdered in Spitzfield.
There's nothing to joke about there, sir. She was a horrible sight. Ripped to pieces, sir. Never even had a chance to cry out.
But it's impossible.
Impossible, sir? What's impossible about it, sir? The body's in the morgue if you want to go and look at it. Although I don't advise it, sir. It's a messy one, and I've seen lots of them.
Who investigated?
Brown, sir.
Get him in.
Yes, sir.
What time was she found?
3:00.
You wanted me, sir?
Any progress on this murder in Spitzfield, Brown?
Not yet, sir.
Know who she is or was?
Oh, yes. Just one of the many women around that neighborhood at that time of night.
No motive, then, so far.
No, there isn't a clue as to who could have murdered her. Not a thing. Nobody heard a scream, although I don't think she had a chance to scream.
All right, Brown. Get hold of McCarthy and have him search London until he finds a chap by the name of James Weiss and his wife, Margaret. I want them here. I want them as quickly as you can find them.
Yes, sir. But James Weiss and his wife, Margaret, were not to be found. And the body lying in the morgue was not the only one Scotland Yard was to view in the following months. London was in a state of panic. Hardly a week passed that a woman was not found brutally and horribly murdered. The newspapers called the unknown fiend Jack the Ripper, and women were advised not to walk alone after dark in the Whitechapel district, where the majority of the crimes were committed. But one day, all unmindful of the police search for him, James Weiss and his wife returned from their trip to the continent, board a bus at Notting Hill in the very heart of London.
Piper, Piper, sir! London door, Piper!
Fares, please. Step forward in the bus, please. Fares, please. Tuppence to Marble Arch, sir. Yes, sir.
Why, what's the matter, James? You look ill.
I've got that feeling I had that night I had the dream.
What do you mean?
The man I saw kill the woman. He's on the bus.
Oh.
I know it. I feel it.
Look around. Get a grip on yourself.
In the opposite corner.
He's getting off. Quick, James. Quick, follow him.
But the stranger got into a cab and was driven off. Weiss appealed to a policeman who only laughed at him when he asked for the stranger's arrest. That night, another Jack the Ripper murder. And in the morning's papers, Weiss reads that the police are looking for him. Before London is astir, Weiss is at Scotland Yard, and the inspector and two sergeants take the clairvoyant to the scene of the latest killing.
Now, Mr. Weiss, this is where the murder was committed. Do you...
Look at him. Quiet.
He's going into a trance.
He's staring off into space.
He's starting to walk.
Through the maze of London's streets walks the strange group. Mile after mile, Weiss follows the psychic trail, never hesitating until they reach the West End. Then, outside an imposing house, Weiss stops, staggers. His glazed eyes turn imploringly to the inspector as again he staggers and almost falls to the ground.
Look out there. Catch him.
What's the matter?
Are you all right?
In there, in that house, the murderer, the man you want, Jack the Ripper.
All right, boys. We'll take a chance. Be ready for fireworks.
Maybe we're on a wild goose chase.
Does seem kind of...
Someone's coming.
Yes, gentlemen.
We're police officers. We wish to search this house.
Come in. I suppose there's no use hiding it any longer.
Well, no, madam. No use hiding it any longer.
The doctor's insane. When he's in his right mind, he's the kindest man alive. But when this other thing takes hold of him, there's no saying what he might do. I've lived in constant dread. I've been afraid that he might even commit murder.
Then you don't know who he is? I mean, why we're here?
Who he is? Why, he's Dr. Blank. I am Mrs. Blank. He's in there.
And Dr. Blank he was, when in his right mind. But when his dual personality took hold of him, he became Jack the Ripper, the monstrous fiend who killed for the love of killing. A group of eminent British doctors examined him, and when it was definitely decided that he was insane, he was committed to an asylum, and all were sworn to secrecy. His death was announced to account for his disappearance. And surely that mock funeral attended by the prominent people of London was one of the strangest rites that old city ever witnessed. A strange, fantastic rite, and a fitting close to the unsolved mystery of Jack the Ripper. In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the clairvoyant's extraordinary trance. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and characters have been taken in the solution for which you have been waiting. It is many years after the famous Jack the Ripper murders, and Detective Inspector Lester is discussing the Ripper case with a well-known London editor, now dead.
You see, Tom, the Ripper case isn't the only case where we've had the Yard use a clairvoyant. And this clairvoyant has helped us out when we couldn't find a starting place. Of course, well, it just doesn't do to let that sort of thing get spoken about in the papers.
What other case can you tell me of?
Well, there was the Crumbles case. We were at a dead end. A medium was consulted, and she described the murderers. But more than that, she told us where they were living. The arrest and proof were simple.
But there must be some explanation to such peculiar happenings.
Yes, there is. Look at it this way. Mediums or clairvoyants, I don't particularly care what they're called, make a practice of going into a trance so many times that they become more and more susceptible. I mean that there are times when, merely because they're not thinking about anything in particular, their minds are open to suggestion, although at that particular time they may not be aware of it.
Yes, I can understand that.
Now, here's a peculiar thing. What emotion, next to an effort to save one's life, do you think is uppermost in 9 persons out of 10 who are murdered?
Why, I never gave that a thought. What is?
An overpowering desire to have the police know who killed them. Now, that desire for, well, call it revenge, coupled with fear of discovery of the murderer, produces a tremendously powerful thought wave which is received by a clairvoyant who is receptive to suggestion at the moment.
Almost like a radio set, which has been left switched on and tuned to a station which is off the air. Suddenly the station comes on the air, and the message is received, huh?
Pretty good explanation.
Yes, I accept all this. But how was Weiss seeing the murder at Spitzfields before it was even committed?
Weiss was more than an ordinary clairvoyant. He was fully susceptible to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious has no measurement of time. Past, present, or future is all one to the subconscious. And therefore, to the subconscious, it made no difference whether the murder was committed, was being committed, or was to be committed.
In other words, the trances that mediums have that are apparently meaningless would not be meaningless if they could be linked up with the proper time, the right place, and people affected.
Exactly. In the Jack the Ripper case, the Crumbles case, and half a hundred others that I know of, the ordinary law of coincidence permits a certain number of occurrences in which all the elements are present. And that results in a workable application of clairvoyance.
Amazing, isn't it, to think about?
Amazing, yes. Because we don't understand it. But someday...
Yes?
Someday, when the police of the world wake up to the value of this study, catching criminals will be a simple matter. But when that day comes, criminals will be few and far between.
Why?
Because criminals, too, will be able to see and to know what awaits them. If not in this world, then in the next.
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to people who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. Murder has many tongues, and there have been times when these tongues have accused falsely. As, for instance, the trial and conviction of Herbert Bennett was thought by many to be a miscarriage of justice. Not that Bennett was a desirable citizen, for that he most certainly was not, but guilty of murder? Would a jury today say not guilty where almost 40 years ago they said he must hang? If that be so, and many agree, then the murder on Yarmouth Sands stands today as one of England's unsolved mysteries. The scene is South Beach, Yarmouth, England, and the time 6 o'clock on a summer's morning. An early morning bather strides down the tight, damp sand toward the sea. South Beach is deserted but for this lone figure. Not a sound breaks the stillness but the cawing of seagulls, the timeless beating of the waves on the shore. The lone bather stops, turns white. His eyes start in their sockets. A cry of horror dies in his throat, and turning, he runs down the beach. In a few minutes, a police inspector, a policeman, and the lone bather are staring down on the body of a beautiful woman.
You found her here not 5 minutes ago? That's right, Inspector. Was going for my morning swim. Not a thought on my mind. I almost stepped on her. It was
She's been dead most of the night, I'd say.
some time anyway. We'll let the medical examiner decide that. How was she killed?
Strangled. Strangled with a mohair bootlace. Look, tied in a reef knot.
No signs of a struggle either, Inspector.
No, his hand isn't disturbed. Doesn't look like robbery either, since the rings are still on her fingers.
Well, I don't want to disturb her too much, but I can't find a single identifying mark on her clothing. Now, wait. Here's a number. A laundry tag. Number 599.
You live around these parts?
Yes, Inspector. But I never saw this woman before. And this isn't a very big place.
She's from the city, all right. What are these shoes?
Chance of following anything from footprints. Tide pretty near came up to her.
That's true. When you come right down to it, there isn't a clue as to who she is or who was with her.
No, and on top of that, you can't even trace the murder weapon. Practically everyone has bought bootlaces like that one around her neck at some time or another.
Nothing under her fingernails to indicate that she fought for her life.
We know that. The sand isn't even disturbed.
But she could have been brought here after she was killed. Don't forget that.
If you don't need me anymore, I'll get dressed. I don't think I'll go in for my swim after all.
With nothing but the laundry mark as a clue, the Yarmouth police combed the town for someone to identify the murdered woman. Dozens of people visited the morgue, but not one could say that they knew who the woman was. Late the day following the murder, a Mrs. Rudrum went to the police to report that one of her boarders, a Mrs. Hood, had not returned to her lodgings for 2 days. The desk sergeant led the way to the morgue, motioning to Mrs. Rudrum to follow him.
Is that the woman?
Yes. Oh, the poor soul. That's her, all right.
You're absolutely certain?
Yes, and besides, look at this. I brought it along.
Oh, one of those photographs they take on the beach. When was it taken?
Not more than 3 days ago.
You're certain of that?
Of course I'm certain. Didn't the poor soul come to my room and show it to me? Told me she did, that she'd had it taken that very day, and that was Friday.
And we found the body Sunday morning. Oh, Inspector!
Yes, what is it?
Come here, quick.
Found something?
Plenty. Look at this.
Photograph of the murdered woman.
But it was taken only 3 days ago.
That's right, it is, although I don't see what there is in that to get all excited about.
You don't? Well, look here. In the photograph, this woman is wearing a chain. Looks like a silver chain, with a watch attached.
Right, sir. I noticed it. And look at the body. No chain or watch.
She was wearing that chain and watch the night she went out, Saturday night.
Tell us some more. You're a perfect mine of information.
Well, I'm not one, you understand, to be asking questions of my boarders. And Mrs. Hood, she wasn't one to be saying much about herself. But she was going out to meet a man Saturday night, because she dressed herself with a lot of extra care. And something else, too.
Yes, what's that?
The only mail she ever got was a couple of bluish-gray envelopes from Woolwich they was. And I remember she got one that morning, and she was excited all day. Maybe it was a letter telling her to meet somebody that night, because she was seen by one of my neighbors waiting outside the station for the evening train from London.
Thanks. Come on, officer. This is where we go to work.
And go to work the police did. Every laundry in Woolwich was canvassed. Post officers were watched for bluish-gray envelopes. Pawn shops came in for their share of scrutiny, but no signs of the silver chain or the watch could be found. Newspapers were loud and long in their denunciation of the police slowness in finding the murderer. Hints, none too veiled, were thrown out that a husband should be looked for. And all over England, the main topic of conversation was the murder on Yarmouth Sands.
Terrible, that's what it is. The police are not doing their duty.
If I had anything to do with it, I'd find that woman's husband.
They say that the police know who the murderer is, but won't make an arrest.
She'd no business going to a place like that at night, married or not.
More than likely it was someone too prominent.
If the police can't solve the mystery, let them who can solve it take their places.
A crying shame.
Scandalous.
Outrageous.
More bungling. We're not safe.
Hopeless muddling. Who'll be next?
Day after day, scathing letters to the press, burning hot editorials, speeches in Parliament, a perfect furor of invective harassing the police at every turn, phone calls from cranks, letters from amateur detectives, visits from maniacs who claimed that they could tell who the murderer was. But one morning at the Woolwich police station...
Come in. What's this, Sergeant?
This, Inspector, is the murderer of the Yarmouth Sands mystery.
What?
Here's the evidence, sir. Name is Bennett. Murdered woman's name was not Hood. It was Bennett. Bennett here works at Woolwich Arsenal.
A lot of nonsense. I'll have you kicked off the force for this.
I'm not finished.
Go ahead, Sergeant.
Bennett has been going around with a woman by the name of Meadows. She thinks he's not married. And he's been posing as a single man for months.
Go on.
He was at Yarmouth Saturday evening. Landed on the 8 train, went to the hotel, and left for London again on the first morning train.
You think this is evidence?
And here, Inspector, is the final link. The only thing needed to put the rope around his neck.
Yes?
The chain and the watch.
The sergeant spoke the truth. The chain and the watch placed the hangman's rope around Herbert Bennett's neck, and on a cold gray morning in March the following year, Bennett walked the 13 steps that lead to eternity. But that hanging was not considered by everyone the solution to the Yarmouth Sands mystery. A great many people agreed with Bennett's attorney, the famous Marshal Hall, who stated that while the jury may have accepted the watch and chain in Bennett's possession as one and the same with that in the photograph of the murdered woman, it was not the same. In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the Yarmouth Sands mystery. Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and character exist in the solution for which you have been waiting. The scene is the home of one of New Scotland Yard's most able detective inspectors. The inspector is talking to one of his friends.
No, Jim. Now that the years have rolled past and I've had more experience with circumstantial evidence, I don't believe that a jury would bring in a guilty verdict on the evidence presented at Bennett's trial.
It was rather strong evidence, even if it was circumstantial.
I know it was. And our department fully believes that they had race motive. Now, 40 years ago, any jury would consider that a man with a criminal record and who was posing as a single man, though married, was guilty. I say that a jury would, under these conditions, consider that sufficient motive for murder there. Today, they wouldn't.
You think not?
I wouldn't press a charge on such a motive. The fact that a married man, is in love with a woman, not his wife, is not, in my opinion, motive for murder.
Well, even allowing that, what about the chain?
Well, that photograph was one of these things taken on metal. You know, the kind that they take at the beach for tuppence? It was such a poor reproduction that the jury wasn't really satisfied and justified in using it for identification of such a small article as that chain.
And Bennett never confessed, did he?
No, he maintained his innocence up to the last. And Marshal Hall always believed his client innocent. And Marshal Hall was one of the most brilliant legal minds of the day, besides being a shrewd judge of character. And his reputation is most certainly beyond reproach.
You certainly have sown the seeds of doubt in my mind.
You know, I've often wondered...
Yes?
What would have been the result if the inspector and the officer who discovered the body had started their investigations along different lines that morning as they stood looking at that woman's body?
Not a sign of a struggle here at all, and her clothing isn't disarranged.
No. Pretty obvious that she was murdered someplace else and carried here.
And look here, this bootlace around her neck and tied with a reef knot. See the way it was slipped over her head, tightened and knotted.
All right, done by a sailor.
That's what you'd expect out here anyway. After dark, this place is dotted for miles with sailors and their sweethearts.
You never saw her before, did you?
No, not me. It's a stranger to Yarmouth. I'd say women here don't wear clothes like that.
Oh, she's from London, all right.
No identification at all. Nothing but this laundry tag.
Well, let's get back to the police station. We've got to find out who she is, but more important than that, we've got to start searching for a sailor. A big, husky fellow. Big enough to have carried this woman here after he killed her.
And we, too, wonder what the results would have been had the investigation not been influenced by public clamor. Perhaps the mystery of the murder on Yarmouth sands might not have quite so much the air of an unsolved mystery.